All right, so I should have probably started this video with me taking everything off, but I didn't think about it until it was too late. But I haven't seen one of the videos showing these aluminum body Fords with the water pumps. So this is a 2016 with the 5 liter. It's got just over 60,000 miles. Apparently from reading online, it's a pretty common problem that these water pumps go out early. Of course, mine went out last night when it was single digits temperatures, so that makes it a ton more fun. But here's the old water pump that I pulled off. Obviously we can tell that that bearing shot, and that's where we blew the seal. But I'll make a better video showing the pieces of it going back together. One of the big things that I read online and pay attention to is that the flange for your pulley, there's a 3 and a 4 bolt version. Mine has the 3 bolt. So just give that a once over before you go buy your parts. They're not overly, they're not priced horribly bad. They only run about $82, which isn't a horrible. The Motorcraft one ran 92 bucks, but I decided since that one only lasted 60,000 miles, I probably don't need to go with that one again. So I think we bought a Gates or something like that, and it comes with all the gaskets you need to. So I will do a better job trying to show you the rest of the video on reinstalling this and getting everything put back together. So we've got the water pump just back into place. You can see it's still real loose. It's only 4 bolts that holds this on. So you kind of like putting on a car tire. You want to do it in intervals all the way around, kind of like a star. So that way you're not putting a bind on it while you're putting it in, and there's a rubber gasket on there that is what's going to seal that in there. You don't have to use any gasket maker or anything like that. A lot of things that I read online recommended removing the throttle body right here, but I've not really had much of an issue getting into where I need to get into. So I went ahead and left it in place. I feel like when we're talking about electronics and stuff like that, the less we can take off, the better we are. So we'll start getting her tightened down, and I'll show you the next step. Another thing to be thinking of as you're replacing this, this is the thermostat housing. You see the thermostat down in there. The water pump that I bought came with all the gaskets to replace, like on the thermostat housing and a couple of the hoses and stuff. While they did not look bad at all, you know, if you got the new gaskets, you might as well use them. Again, another seal. The kit came with this seal, so that's a pretty simple, just pop out, pop on. Again, the seal that I had didn't look bad at all, but if we're gonna take the time to do it, and it came with them, we might as well go ahead and put them back in. I've not read anything about, seen anything about, you know, needing to go back in a particular order. This is just kind of how I took it apart. So this goes in here. You can see that there's a little spot for a threaded bolt. It's a, oh, I don't know, it's an 1.5 inch long bolt. And it's an 8mm. Almost everything's 8, 9, or 10mm on this deal here. So it's not too bad. Again, the only thing that would make this a little more reasonable today would be if we were above 20 degrees. All right, as I was hooking up hoses, I almost forgot to put the pulley back on. The new water pump does not come with a new pulley. It's just 3 bolts, not a big deal. But it does get a little tight down here. So these are 10mm too. And I think after this I'll actually be done bolting anything onto the truck. It'll just be hoses and whatnot after this. There's just the 3 bolts, and we'll use the tensioner pulley to put the belt back on and make sure we get her good and tight. So the last thing I have to put on is the air tube from the throttle body to the breather box. So everything else is hooked up now. So all of my hoses coming to and from, so this comes off the bottom of the reservoir to this metal pipe that comes off the top of the thermostat housing area. The lower radiator hose, upper radiator hose, the pulley's back on, the serpentine belt is back on. Which one thing that was a surprise to me is this truck has 2 serpentine belts on it. One comes off the crank, and all it runs is the water pump and the alternator. And then the other one runs everything else. So that was kind of a surprise to me. Otherwise, we're gonna put the air breather back on and start putting antifreeze back in it. So realistically, I don't know for sure what the shop would charge for something like this. From everything I could tell, it was gonna be around 400 bucks. And I personally have a real hard time with what I just did on my own. I have a real hard time spending that kind of money on it. So I'm gonna have to take that hose back off real quick. So the only thing that was really disappointing is the part was 80 bucks, but I did pay a ton of money for the antifreeze. The antifreeze was $36 a gallon. So I'm about 180 bucks into it, which is a lot better than what any Ford dealership is going to charge you. So we'll talk about it again when we start putting antifreeze back in. All right, so just finishing up with antifreeze. Really hoping that I can take one of the gallons back, but I'm just filling up the reservoir, letting the truck run, and it'll pull down the antifreeze, letting it run, pull down the antifreeze. It's not like the old ones where you could dump it in the radiator and squeeze the hose to start priming the whole system. So now we'll just let her warm up and pull down what it will. So we've probably put about 3/4 of a gallon in so far. All right, so we'll just keep doing that till she's done. And that's about it. No leaks. Everything looks good.